In this video, we will talk about dual axis charts. Sometimes we may want to plot two different quantitative variables having different units for either a categorical variable or over time. A dual axis chart can be used in such situations. While most visualization charts use a single y-axis and a single x-axis, a dual axis chart incorporates a shared x-axis for the categorical or the time variable, and two separate y-axes for the two different quantitative variables. So we can show one quantitative variable using columns and the other using a line. Although this is not a rule, we can use lines for both or columns for both also. Although columns for both may not be a good idea. It's best to mix it up with a column and a line. And by looking at a dual axis chart, we can visually examine the relationship between two quantitative variables over time or for a categorical variable. So let's look at some examples. We have time and we have two quantitative variables. They're completely different units. One is trillions of dollars, the other is percentage. So here's how a dual axis chart would look like. We have time on the x-axis, GDP in trillions on one y-axis, GDP growth percentage on the other y-axis. Another example, in this case, we don't have time. We have a categorical variable, country, and our two quantitative variables are GDP and population. And this is how this dual axis chart looks like. Do we see any relationship between GDP and population? Well, it looks like GDP is sorted in descending order. Now we do see overall descending line for the population, but it has quite a few ups and downs too. So no relationship here, some relationship here, but it does have a lot of ups and downs. Overall, yeah, as GDP goes down, population overall is going down, but then that's not a rule. There's quite a few ups and downs, so not a very good relationship. Now that would be very difficult to see if we were just looking at this table. So you can see the advantage of visualization. Another example, GDP and per capita GDP. So here GDP is descending, but per capita GDP is all over the place. So you can see there's absolutely no relationship between the two. Let's see how to draw this in Excel. Let's go to Excel. Here's our data for the first chart. We have nominal GDP in trillions and GDP growth rate as a percentage and the year. So we select this data and we say insert. So we will not find the dual axis option here. So click on recommended charts and you will not find a recommendation under the recommended charts. So click on all charts and then click on the bottom option, which is the combo. So it picked up nominal GDP and growth rate as the two quantitative variables. It picked up year as the x-axis variable. And by default, it is saying I'm going to put nominal GDP as column and growth rate as a line, which is fine. And we want to say put the GDP growth rate on the secondary axis there. Now let's try some other options. Let's try both as columns. So I do not like this. It's very hard to tell what's going on here. So I can tell that GDP growth rate is negative here and positive here and negative here and positive here. But I'm not very clear on the blue lines. They're sort of getting messed up. So I don't like this, both columns. Let's try something else. Let's try both lines. Yeah, this is not bad, but I still like the column and line combination. So let's go back to column and line combination. Yeah, that's the best one. Then in this example, we do not have time. We have a categorical variable on the x-axis and two quantitative variables for the y-axis. So let's insert all charts combo. The default is GDP column, population line, that's fine. Okay, we've already discussed this chart earlier. And then this one, insert, recommended charts, all charts, combo. And we've discussed this chart as well. There's no relationship between GDP and per capita GDP. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial.